Elon, you crafty devil, you. There are many ways to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, but there is only one correct principle that will make the operation successful, and that is to use solar and wind to create and produce the chemicals and technology in order to pull the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This may sound overly stringent given our petroleum addiction, but it is absolutely essential that we do this because, well, in 50 years, the petroleum prices will be so high it would be of no effect, and the machines would be rendered useless. So if the project is to have long-term viability, all machines used in conjunction with this project need to ultimately get their power from the sun or the wind or other natural forces. I will cut right to the chase, starting with the simplest methods of carbon dioxide absorption. Much as we have drilled oil from the earth, we will have to convert the oil drilling equipment to pull water from the earth. This water, unlike this fresh water in this pond, will have to come from deep below, and it will have to be highly alkaline in nature. This is common in areas with high limestone content. Once that alkaline water is pulled up from the earth, air can be pumped into it. This will balance the pH of the water because the air contains carbon dioxide, and that will produce carbonic acid, which will neutralize the high alkalinity water. Once the high alkalinity water is neutral, it can be rendered back to the earth as clean and pure and simple as rainwater. Limestone. I personally think the first method discussed would be the best, but the pumping of groundwater would have to be done on a mass scale, as massive of a scale as we pulled oil from the earth. So what other technologies might we be able to use? Well, if we want to go into further complexity, we can isolate limestone and the active chemical ingredients that are creating this reaction and look further into that. Now, with limestone and a reflective surface and some sunlight, we can heat this limestone to a high temperature. That will release carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide has to be captured in a vessel, so the whole operation must be done in somewhat of a closed system where the carbon dioxide can be captured and then pumped or pressed into other fluids for storage. We can then take this stone, which would then be converted from calcium carbonate to calcium oxide, and drop it into water. That would create calcium hydroxide. The calcium hydroxide can then be used as a carbon absorption medium. Windmills can turn pumps, and the pumps can pressurize atmospheric air into the potassium hydroxide solution, thus neutralizing it with the carbon dioxide from the air and forming limestone slurry, which then can be put back into the earth. Some of these complex chemical reactions can produce heat. There are magnificent ways to absorb this heat. As you know, we can cast metal into magnificent geometric patterns. In the case of a thermocouple, the melting and pouring of metals is layered with a geometric pattern to increase surface area. When heat, radiant heat, is applied to this conjuncted layer, electricity is produced. All of the technologies discussed thus far are readily available to corporations and the public. It is merely a matter of psychology that prevents us from pursuing these further, and the monetary system to which we adhere to. But for future technology, and for any promising chemists that have an advanced understanding of how to accomplish this, I would suggest a small device for internal use, such as using this screen. Well, not this screen. Imagine a metal that is a combination, an alloy, of two metals, one being noble and the other being not noble. That metal mesh is then electrified, and in the presence of atmospheric air, will turn the carbon dioxide directly into carbon dust and oxygen. A fan could blow the air across such a device. This would be perfect for homes and small applications, depending on the cost of the alloy. Such a device would be very effective, but has not yet been invented. That is merely a hypothesis of mine as to how you could create a small carbon capturing device. Now that we've discussed the technology and the chemistry, let's look at the alchemy of what got us into this big problem in the first place.